Hello, guys. We're expecting a few more people to join. Um, Tanya, would you like just to continue? Would you like me to start and then you get me to get the other people to join it as they come in?
Yeah, maybe just wait another minute or so for people to join.
Okay.
Um,
All right, cool. Cool. So, guys, we've got a few people here from Europe, and my goodness, what time is it with you, Tanya?
it is 6:30 in the
6:30 a.m.
morning.
And Bruce, you're 4:30, am I right?
Yeah, 4:30 in the afternoon, we'll call it.
Yeah, 4:30 in the afternoon. You poor man.
The
I
dark
don't think this guy,
afternoon.
I don't think this guy sleeps, you know. I mean, you were messaging me. Like, well, you were messaging us like a few hours ago.
8 hours ago. That's the perfect amount of sleep.
Oh, you do your 8 hours of sleep. All right. That's great. Well, apparently there was one of Joe's students who said that Joe actually was absolutely adamant that people do 8 hours of sleep a night. And yeah, it really shows. You get less wrinkles on your face.
Okay, well, I don't
All
get
right, guys.
I don't get 8 hours. I
Neither
get
do I.
I can't sleep for 8 hours. It doesn't work for me. I feel like a zombie.
Neither do I. I really don't. But yeah, I can see that, especially the wrinkles on the face. But
Yeah.
let's not go there. Pilates helps everything else, but not the
Right.
wrinkles on the face. Okay, I need to do a lot more hanging.
Yes. Just not upside down, eh?
Yeah. All right, guys. On that note, I think we should start, Tanya, and then if
Okay.
we get some people coming in through the time or through the session, maybe we'll just let
Exactly.
them in. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so guys, fantastic. So I am Anita Horry. Welcome. I'm just going to first of all, I want to just introduce myself quickly. So I'm going to be your host for this session, for this launch. So welcome and welcome to, of course, Bruce Hildebrand, all the way from Australia at 4:30 a.m. Poor guy, and dear, of course, Tania Huddart, the author of the book, joining us from New Zealand this morning or tomorrow morning for us, 6:30 a.m. for you. Before we start, I would just like to go through some housekeeping points. So I'm just going to be posting them in the chat, and I'm just going to get that chat up. Here we go. I'm going to post the housekeeping points for everybody so everybody's aware. So please mute yourselves so that you can, and then you can unmute yourself at the end when we have our question time. And if you have any questions to ask for the launch, you're more than welcome to ask the questions by writing them down in the chat, and we will do our best to answer all of them. Okay, so please write the person's name that the question is directed to. And so if it's directed to Tanya, of course, please just put Tanya's name in there. And just quickly, for a very limited time, the ebook version of this book is only 99 cents of the US dollar. Okay, so it's super steal. It's a super cheap price. And the paperback version is at $9.99 US dollars. So there, I'm going to be posting the book link so that you guys have access to that in the chat. I'm going to put that right there right now. And also, I just want to let you know that, yeah, so all of us will be available. If you've got any questions for us, you can, as I said, just write your questions in the chat. Excuse me just for a second. I think I've sent this in the chat. I hope that everybody can see this. Yeah, now, and I'm going to send you the link so you can go ahead and get this book ordered. I just want to make sure that we get this book right up to number 1 right now. Right now. You know how Amazon works, guys. Okay, so that's the link for the book. And if you've got any questions or comments, just pop them into the chat and we will have time at the end to answer any of your questions. Right, so here we go. So I'm going to give you a quick introduction about myself. Anita Horry, I'm classical Pilates teacher. We're second generation. Lolita San Miguel gave me that fancy title. So I trained with Universal Pilates, Power Pilates lineage in Spain in the early 2000s, guys. Then I took a further 2-year Pilates Mentor Mastership program Pilates Master Mentorship program with Lolita San Miguel, which was very fascinating to say the least. I studied with multiple other teachers over the years, but the one who really struck me the most was Bob Leekens. Bob Leekens was the main writer for the original Pilates teacher training books for Romana Krysanovska. And what I loved about Bob was that he took the classical approach and fine-tuned it with his profound skills of dance, anatomy, and yoga. I created my own teacher training academy in 2014, but went through a complete overhaul with Bob's help in 2018. So I'm very proud of that. I'm super proud that he helped me write my books. And I've been teacher training students from all over the world. I opened my studio in Malta in 2009. And just this year, I've opened my second studio in Spain, continuing the Teacher Training Academy, whilst at the same time teaching international workshops. I'm the founder of Anita Horry Academy and Pilates teacher training and coaching. I've got a Pilates teacher training and coaching business, as well as running my own retreat center here in Spain on the Costa Blanca, where I continue to host students from all over the world. I realized with all my students that most of my students, even the ones who were amazing Pilates students before their certification, they lacked clarity. Some were even overwhelmed with the content provided in their teacher training. You know, a 600-hour program is no easy feat, and some really needed that extra confidence and guidance to help them give the credibility as Pilates instructors while they get certified. As a teacher trainer, experience shows you right from the start as to whom you will become a brilliant teacher. But then there are some students, and I would say that most students, who perhaps lack confidence. They feel they get left behind and they feel they will never be great. And I've seen a lot of these coming through my doors. So I'll have those few teachers that, they think they know it all because they've been practicing for a number of years, and they still don't have the confidence then as Pilates teachers, to those who have absolute no knowledge about Pilates, and then they feel they're getting left behind even during the teacher training process. So when I saw Tania was launching her book, Teach Pilates with Confidence, I thought, whoa, okay, hang on a minute. I was really keen to get the new teachers and anyone who feel that they need to read this great source of key information to make their teaching lives better. They really need to get to read this book. Some teachers who have been teaching for a number of years still lack clarity and motivation. Some still don't understand their clients. Some still struggle with confidence. So when I reached out to Tania to find out what her book covered, I discovered that these skills were discussed in detail in her book. Moreover, she gives us some extra fun and extremely useful stuff to improve our skills. In today's day and age where more and more classes are going online, we need to learn yet more new skills, as teaching online is completely different to teaching in person. So as a Pilates and movement teacher, it is super important for you to know how to use the teaching methodology strategies, as you will cater for the different learning needs and requirements of your clients. These strategies will improve your teaching skills. You will gain the confidence to communicate better with your clients. You will then have more fun teaching. You will have more flow in your class. You will have more control over your sessions. You will avoid burnout. And most of all, you will build that long-term relationship with your clients, converting them from just clients to your tribe who will follow you everywhere you go. Well, this book has all the tools necessary to give the newer teacher, and quite frankly, all those teachers who feel they need more motivation, more clarity, more confidence, and planning skills to pivot their way into new horizons. On that note, guys, please give a very warm welcome to the amazing Tania Huddart, the author of this book. So Tania, I'm just going to introduce you quickly. Well, not quickly. I want to make sure that we all get to find out a little bit more about you. So Tania came to the Pilates industry through a career in dance and dance teaching. She is a degree qualified dance teacher. She discovered Pilates in 1995 when she attended classes at Leslie Ackland's studio and Pineapple Dance Studios in London. She became an apprentice teacher for 2 years before moving to New Zealand in 1997. In 2000, she moved to Oakland, California, and completed her training through the Physical Mind Institute. She moved back to New Zealand in 2002 and established Hearts and Bones Pilates Studio. In 2003, she completed her master's teacher training in New York with Leslie Powell. She's also an NCPT since 2008. This year, Tania celebrates 20 years of being a studio owner. And to celebrate this achievement, she decided to write a book about how to teach Pilates. Of course, as you do, right? It's fantastic because she's so passionate about helping others. She wanted to share her experience and knowledge so teachers can feel confident and inspired about the way they teach. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to pass it over to Tania. Tania, over to you. So we're gonna...
Hi, everybody.
Hey, there you go, Tania. All yours.
Fantastic. Well, it's so lovely to be here with you guys. When I started on this journey, it was really just another thing on my to-do list. Yep, I'm just going to write a book, and I started. And I didn't actually realize how exciting this journey would be. And I think the biggest gift that this has given me is connections with people. So meeting somebody like Anita, being able to have more reasons to talk to Bruce. We always look for really good reasons to get together and have a good yarn about Pilates. And many other people have reached out to me as well. So I feel that this book, although it's written in, sort of 2D, has actually expanded my world in 3D to an even bigger proportion with worldwide connections. So really excited to be here with you today. And I think the excitement for the book really started when I got this cover design from my designer. And that was when it really became real. And I thought, oh my God, I've actually done this. And it's just such a cause for celebration, not only for my 20 years in business, but it really is a culmination of everything that I wish to do, which is to help Pilates teachers. So it's kind of the first step in that rung of really being available and opening up the space to be able to support Pilates teachers at any point in their journey, whether they're a new teacher by doing teacher training courses with me or other people, or whether you're a seasoned Pilates teacher and would like more knowledge, more support, more help. So yes, it's inspired me no end. So I'm hoping that the book will inspire you guys as well. Yeah, and just to be able to be here and celebrate is fantastic. It's just so great to be able to do that. So thank you, Anita, for being here and for organizing this launch and for being a champion. Thank you, Bruce, for getting up so early to again support me. I really appreciate all of your help throughout the last 20 years of knowing each other. And thank you to all the participants and for those that are watching the recording later on today. So really grateful that you're here with me celebrating and supporting this dream of mine. I'm going to hand you back to Anita.
Brilliant, Tania. Brilliant. Okay, guys. So on that note, I would like to introduce you to our keynote speaker, Mr. Bruce Hildebrand. So Bruce completed a sports science degree in 1997 before traveling to the UK and studying Pilates with Body Control Pilates in the late 1990s. Bruce's Pilates influences from around the world include Siri Darmagaliano, who also happened to be a teacher of mine from Los Angeles, and Michael Miller from Colorado. Bruce also studied with Eric Franklin and would later run workshops across Australia and New Zealand for many years. Towards the end of his time in the UK, Bruce was invited to manage the first body control Pilates studio in Scotland, where he worked with the members of UK rock band Radiohead, whoa, and members of the cast of Disney's Beauty and the Beast. That must have been an amazing experience, Bruce. Upon returning to Australia in 2004, Bruce owned and ran Balance and Control Pilates in Melbourne for 15 years, growing the business to 3 locations, employing over 70 staff, all that while fulfilling the role of strength coach at the Australian Ballet School for 6 years from 2005. Tania and Bruce connected nearly 20 years ago through their mutual love of quality Pilates, in particular teaching methodology. And he was the keynote speaker at the conference hosted by Tania to celebrate the 10th anniversary of her Pilates business, Hearts and Bones Pilates. In his spare time, Bruce, I don't know where the hell you have spare time, Bruce. Bruce is host and producer of the Pilates Diaries podcast. He volunteers his time on the board of the Pilates Alliance of Australia and is soon to launch a Pilates industry booking system app named Trimio, helping both studio owners and instructors become more profitable in running their businesses. This is super exciting to hear. This is really exciting. I want to talk more to you about this, Bruce. But on this note, this is Tania's book launch, and I'd like you to please go ahead and give us your story. So I'm going to find you and pin you, Bruce. Here you go. Here you go.
Thank you for that introduction, Anita. Firstly, I'd like to say it's an absolute honour and an absolute pleasure and privilege to be here with you each. And thank you each for coming on the call and for those listening back to the recording to contribute to Tania's wonderful new book. And I'm excited to be a part of today's launch, and I'm excited to be a witness to seeing how the impact of this book can have a ripple effect through the Pilates industry across the world. I'm super fortunate to have the opportunity to travel to many countries through my formative years, through my 20s mostly, and explore the world of Pilates as I stepped into my career direction and have ever since. Tania and I, just to give you a bit of background, we've always, since we first met and since we first connected, we've always shared this very parallel and very aligned vision of the teaching Pilates a skill, and it is a skill because you absolutely can learn it, is way more than just doing Pilates. From my sports science degree, early days, participation, I reflect on that time and am very clear that it was a very mindless time. I was fortunate to be reasonably capable and might even call it talented at doing various activities, but I specifically recount sitting myself down at a tube station in Gloucester, near Gloucester Road in South Kensington, and having a conversation with myself in the early days saying, okay, so you've come this far with your physical pursuits, your physical participation, but you've landed yourself in this Pilates class, which you're obviously drawn to, but you are terrible at it. And I had to really sit myself down and go, what am I doing well? What am I not doing well? The standard approach to reviewing one's performance. And I realized that I had zero presence and zero awareness and zero self-reflection skills. And it was I reflect on that moment often, and I often share it with students that I'm teaching at various stages as well, to say this is a real shift. Pilates for me, yes, it's a physical pursuit, of course, but the game changer and the distinction I think is crucial to make whenever we're teaching and sharing our love of Pilates is that it's a real shift in your awareness and a real shift in, okay, I've looked at certain things a certain way over the years, but it's really, I haven't looked at my body internally. And so this somatic approach and this self-awareness is something that Tania and I clicked with very, very obviously in the early days, and it's really held strong, absolutely, with our connection over the years. So I assert that that's the reason you guys are on the call, and I appreciate you coming on, and I assert that's the reason why, for those who are listening back to the recording, that you're drawn to what it is that is simple in the title of Tania's book that is like, yeah, I would like more of that. And I wonder what this so-called title of the book would entail. And as you explore into the book, and I'm excited for you as you leaf through the pages of Tania's book to really look into, what could I take away from that? And really some key things for me that I took away was the center of our focus when we teach Pilates has got to be the client. It really has to be. And although we teach, like it's never the same. And people often say to me after 20 years, surely you're bored of teaching Pilates. I said it couldn't be more the opposite, because it's teaching the client in front of you. It's a fairly standard throwaway, but you got to make it appropriate to what your client's up to. So this book just does a ridiculously fantastic job of outlining what are the characteristics that make that possible and make that something that you can genuinely apply. I reflect on my time at high school in the early days. Sad to say that was a fair while ago now, but I was drawn to the physics stream of science rather than the chemistry side of science, because I found chemistry was too much in the unknown. Like I couldn't actually see the experiments and the little micro stuff that was happening in front of me. But with physics, I could actually physically see what was going on. So I find the same with Pilates. Yes, it's an interesting blend of, you can physically see people's bodies change, but really perhaps the reflection on chemistry is that the internal that's going on for people is very much the genesis of them making such changes. So it's an interesting blend there that we as Pilates teachers really want to develop that skill a lot. Again, the subtlety of Tania's book, like the messages I think there are going to ring true for many years. So I think this book holds a great stead for many years to come for those who come across it. And the difference that it's going to be making from those subtle changes, I think sometimes isn't recognizable in the first instance. Sometimes it's just planting a little seed, which Tania's done a wonderful, wonderful job of creating and designing the book in that way that it really flows so nicely for everyone. Teaching also is not an instruction. If you're going to impart knowledge, it's got to be more than just dictating something from the front of the room. So really finding a way to engage with your participants is such a crucial thing. And so these are just key, really important things that have stood out for me in obviously reviewing the book in detail. It was an absolute pleasure and an honor again to bring forward bring the content of the foreword together. So Tania, I appreciate and really respect that request from you to put those special words to outline who you are as a person for the Pilates industry together, and have that be presented in the book. It's an absolute honor to get that mention, and couldn't be more true to be aligned with the message that you're promoting through the book. Tania has asked me to put together some key elements that I see as the vision moving forward for the Pilates industry. Similar to Tania, I've been super fortunate to have owned and run Pilates for the best part of the last 20 years as well. And really, in today's little snippet on the book launch, I wanted to just run through some of the key takeaways from me and presenting that to complement the book. And the way that you're probably going to read is very aligned with what Tania's presented through the words of the book. And quite simply, I would have not been paying attention to have not noticed the patterns through that time that I see across the board through the spread of studio owners around me, staff that's both worked for me and other places, and also the clients who come again and again for class. So some key elements that stand out across the journey for me is the skill of teaching Pilates takes some time to develop. So if you're finding yourself really like, why haven't I got it yet? Be patient and really sit with, what is this going to take for me to communicate what I'm very passionate about with Pilates? Secondly, it's crucial that you are well guided in your teaching of Pilates. So this book stands as a fantastic resource that's very accessible, and it's so crucial that you surround yourself with inspiring, experienced teachers who help you, guide you on your path and help you with your growth. Thirdly, be aware that the role that you bestow upon yourself of teaching Pilates requires you to be in it for your clients. It sounds a very gorgeous way to live your life, in my opinion, but in simple terms, you have to be clear for yourself that you're in it for your clients. It isn't a playground for those who live in the narcissistic world. You've got to be of a giving nature. So to know that from beforehand is actually fantastic to just be aware of about yourself. Another key point that and Anita, you touched on it before, we're in the process of developing and launching an industry app, and this is at the very core of it. For me, sustainable Pilates teachers happens because of the skills, obviously, that Tania's outlined in her book, but it also comes on the economic benefit of being a Pilates teacher. And I know that might stand like, oh, hang on a sec, this is not what the book's about. But really, for me, in reality, we've got to earn a living while we're doing these wonderful things. Yeah. So my recommendations across the board, and I've said it for a long time, in terms of structuring your classes, I recommend that you commit 50% of your teaching workload by working for someone else. It'll keep you connected with the industry. It'll keep you connected with a team of teachers. It'll help you inspire your learning and your ongoing development as a teacher. Yeah. And the other 50% of your time, I recommend you commit to developing your own clientele. You can earn considerably more, but that's not my main reason for suggesting that. It's also going to have you do the work in terms of really seeing why you've got to develop these long-lasting relationships of building trust and loyalty with your clients. So I find that obviously the ratio will likely shift over time, but either way, it's really helpful to maintain a balance between those things that I find. And my recommendation is you'll find a lot of economic sustainability in your earnings as a Pilates teacher. For those who are on the call and listening to this launch, as a studio owner, don't lose heart if your staff move on. It's a very real thing as a studio owner in the industry. You need to develop a business model for yourself that ultimately protects you from this inevitability. It's a bit of a juxtaposition you might hear, but at the same time, you've got to invest heavily in your staff. They are your greatest assets, and it's important to find a balance between those two things. So for those who are studio owners on the call, then absolutely get a hold of Tania's book and distribute it amongst your team, because you're going to find that's one of many things that's going to help your staff really develop themselves and stay strong for your team. Another recommendation, teach for only 25 hours a week as a ballpark. Find a complementary income stream for the remaining time in your week. 25 hours a week, unless you're earning good hourly rate, isn't necessarily sufficient to sustain you, in my experience. So find a bit of a blend there. If you find you're getting cooked after 30 or 35 or 40 hours, there's a bloody good reason, because it's actually a lot of work to hold that together. Next, teach people who appreciate you. Find a balance in this audience that you're working with, and it's 101 marketing really is, what's your avatar of your ideal client? I know Anita and Tania can help you out a lot with their respective coaching services and so forth, but finding a balance with that of teaching people who really appreciate you really makes it a reciprocating conversation and relationship that you're going to develop with your clients, which is super important. And my final key point out of this brief introduction for today, Tania's book today, is, of course, the simple recommendation of read Tania's book. Do yourself a favor. It's filled with a range of fantastic treasures that you'll find yourself coming back to time and time again. I think an excellent sign of a book is one that you can pick up at any point in time, at any point in the book, and just catch a stanza, a snippet, whatever it is, a chapter that is going to just give you something to take away and have a think about in contributing to you to become even more confident as a Pilates teacher and ultimately have amazing impact with your clients. So thanks for tuning in today. For those who are on the call, of course, and those listening back, as I say, it's been an honor to contribute in this small way to Tania's launch of the book. And back to you, Anita.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was such beautiful insight. And Bruce, I really love your tips, and they make absolute sense. You know, I've been in the industry long enough, and I understand the difference between being that new teacher with lacking confidence of not being able to translate what they know to the clients, to then being the studio owner who has the other problems of holding on to their staff because you've trained them, and then they go off and then they do their own thing. So that was amazing insight. I really love your tips. Really, really like them. Very fantastic. Thank you for sharing them. Thank you so much. We're going to hand over now to Tania so that she can read an excerpt from her book. So Tania, thank you very much. I'm going to pass over to you.
Thank you, guys. Bruce, thank you for those very wise words, and I'm humbled by your support of me, and you know that the feeling is mutual. But as much as I appreciate it, I always find it really hard to hear as well. It's yeah, it makes me feel very emotional, and I really value the support. I'm also very touched by the fact that you say that you can open the book anywhere and get a snippet of information that's just going to spark you up. I'm not a great writer in my own opinion, but this book is from the heart, and it is based on 20 years of training teachers' experience. So if this book resonates with you, even if it is just one paragraph, then I am so grateful that I took the time to do this, because my aim is to help each and every Pilates teacher out there really come into your own, have your own voice, and also have the tools with which to help you teach better. The better our teachers teach, the better our clients are going to be. I always say you can't be successful unless your clients are successful. So that's where your success lies, is with how well do your clients progress in their own opinion, not in your opinion. So, you know, the client that just wants to be able to sit on the floor and play with their grandkids, that is a major win for them. It doesn't matter whether they can do the roll up or not. The fact that they can play with their grandkids on the floor, that's the win. So that's what I mean by success. So I'm going to read a little an excerpt from my book here, and then we're going to open it up for a bit of discussion. And then I've got another second shorter section that I'm going to read as well. So I'd really value any questions that you have to go into the chat, and then we'll open it up so that we can all talk about that excerpt together. So this is from page 23, second paragraph from the end. And we keep coming back to this word clarity, and this comes through in this passage as well. When you are clear and passionate about your skills, you want to share them with the world. You will have the motivation to pursue this plan. You can live your life with purpose. You will keep working for what you want regardless of other people's doubts or any setbacks along the way. Be curious. Curiosity led to many breakthrough discoveries and inventions throughout history. Interest precedes the impulse to seek new information, experiences, and possibilities. Using curiosity when you teach is a fantastic way to build trust between you and your clients. It means you can work as a team to solve their movement challenges. You are no longer the expert in the room. You are no longer alone in the journey of helping your client move better. Curiosity can help clients take ownership of their movement journey. They can start finding ways to move better in their everyday life without you being there. At the same time, your expertise can shine through. You can use your expert knowledge to guide them. You don't need to know everything. You can't know everything, because new ideas and research mean our knowledge evolves. Clients come to you for help. You can provide that help in your unique way. Knowing every condition a client can come with is crippling and unrealistic, but you can inform yourself as you go along. The most important thing is to make your client feel heard and understood. Support them to find ways to move that help them achieve their goals. Why do they want to move better? Sometimes it is to sit on the floor playing with grandchildren. Others may want to keep walking or playing golf for as long as they can. Whatever their goal is, you can get curious with them and explore what is possible. Through curiosity, you can help people build more sustainable movement habits. You can help them learn to trust themselves rather than getting stuck on what they can't do. Combining your movement knowledge with curiosity allows clients to explore their abilities. There is a difference between experiencing movement and doing exercise. Our culture focuses on doing movement. We do 15 repetitions of an exercise or walk 10,000 steps. We do the numbers, we push through, sparing no thought for the experience, all the time thinking we are doing something worthwhile. Somewhere along the line, we started using exercise as punishment. To me, movement should feel joyful, more like an adventure. I love exploring different ways my body can move. Being stuck in set routines or numbers feels restrictive and boring. The numbers approach robs you of your curiosity and motivation to move. When you get curious, you don't have to make yourself move. It's no longer a thing you need to do. You choose to move to make yourself feel alive, engaged, and free. The tools you learn in this book will help you include curiosity in your teaching practice. I'd like to share 3 ways of building movement curiosity with you. Number 1 is give clients movement choices. Provide different options for the same movement. Ask clients to do the one they feel best doing. Your word choices will help you ignite this curiosity. You can use words like I wonder, what would happen if, rather than can you or you should. Number 2, it doesn't have to look pretty. Exploring new ways to move can often look unflattering, and that's okay. It is how you experience the movement that matters. There is no wrong way to move. You have more choices. Number 3 is move without judgment. Clients may compare the way they look and move against you or other class participants. Create a safe space where they can focus on the way they need to move to have a positive experience. Cool.
Brilliant. That was. Can I just put a point in here, if you don't mind, Tania?
Please.
Yeah, I'm just going to just say I really, really can relate to this, because I can see, especially in their new teaching journey, students tend to, or teachers tend to teach choreography versus looking at the way that their body's moving. And then, as you say, exploring how they can translate what they know into changing the technique for the student, and using, as you say, either the correct words or perhaps the tactile cues, the relevant tactile cues, to be able to help them get into the movement. So that really makes sense to me. It really does.
I think it takes some of the pressure off you as the teacher as well, because
Yeah.
then you're I always say you're in the same boat with your client, instead of you being the engine at the back paddling like mad to try and keep on top of everything, and it's just exhausting doing that. Whereas if you're having that open conversation going, well, how does this movement feel to you? You know, would you like to put your foot somewhere else? How about trying to put your arm somewhere else? And even if it looks ungainly or even asymmetrical sometimes, that's okay. One of my favorite sayings is the 2 halves of your body are like siblings. They each have their own identity. They're not identical twins. So, you know, what you need to do on one side might be completely different to what you have to do on the other side to help your body feel good. And some days it might be 8 repetitions on one side and only 3 on the other. And that's
Absolutely.
okay too. It's whatever you need on the day to help you move better, rather than getting stuck in these rigid routines and thinking that we have to do it because I was taught that way. You
Yeah.
have to start somewhere, but once you're out there in the real world, you have to play.
Yeah, and it's so true with regard to, like, how can we remove imbalances if we continue to do everything so asymmetric and same repetitions on each side, right? It's just a question of figuring out yourself, and I'm sure that that comes also with experience, but having the confidence to help also get that curiosity within you to help the student or the client to move better within themselves. Thank you, Tania. That was very good.
Fantastic.
And I think it's helpful, Anita, to understand and hear critical stories when we're first learning. For example, having been fortunate to work with a principal artist of the Australian Ballet, who was in that role for many years, for Madeline to say things like, I don't actually have the best structure in the world to be a principal dancer. And that's something massive to come out of the mouth of a principal dancer.
Yeah.
But what she did follow up with was, I know exactly what I need to do to execute the choreography and the artistry for the audience to see what they need to see to portray these various roles that I play. So to hear that and have the confidence with that as a teacher when you're first learning is like, you know what, I don't have to be perfect because here's a pretty blatant example of a principal artist at one of the best known ballet companies in the world. To say those sort of words, I think is really, really calming and really confidence building, I think, for lots of early teachers. So.
Very humbling. That's true.
Thanks, Bruce. Do we have any other questions from the participants? Anything else we can help with, or do you want me to go on to the second reading? It's much shorter than the first one.
Maybe you can go to page 54, Tania.
All right. So this was on Anita's request because this really resonated for her. And this is sort of halfway down through that page. And the title of this piece is What Motivates Your Clients? Motivation walks hand in hand with goal achievement. Making progress towards your goals increases your motivation. As a movement teacher, you're helping clients to reach their goals. We do this by assisting them to gain intrinsic feedback and encouragement. Intrinsic motivators foster belief in the value of looking after your body and movement health. Developing an awareness of our sensory system will build our perception more. Intrinsic motivation tools can also help you to foster committed clients. Focus on making the exercises you teach relevant to each client. For example, incorporate clients' personal experiences into lessons. You can also discuss the reasons for choosing specific exercises. You can figure out how certain tasks fit your client's everyday life. Making connections to previous learning can also help. We all learn by doing, making, writing, designing, creating, or problem solving. Telling clients what to do makes them passive, and they expect you to provide all the answers. It reduces their curiosity. Instead, encourage clients to suggest approaches to problems and become active class participants. Then allow them to practice the movements. Invite them to explore and verbalize what they feel.
That's it, Tania. The reason why I asked you to read this was because I felt that as teachers, we really need to know our clients. And this is where getting to know the client, getting to know what motivates the client is going to help us create a better workout for them. But remember, this isn't just a physical workout we're giving them. As it's very well known in the industry, Pilates is functional movement. So if you know your client, going back to your example of the lady who wants to be able to play with the grandkids, then getting to know what motivates her to come to your Pilates sessions, getting to know what exercises to give her to be able to get to that purpose, to achieve what she wants to achieve at her home, and not just giving her the order because that's what you've been taught. Like this in the classical world, that's what we're given, right? We're given a number of exercises, and regardless of who you are, what you're doing, you got to follow them.
Yeah.
Then you're not really learning who your client is and how to adapt your session to that client.
No. I think there's some comfort in that structure for a lot of people. And I think there's some benefit. But it's very hard then for a client to take that into their normal everyday life. You know, whereas if I teach a client to do a good bridge and say, well, this is going to help you get up that hill, because now you understand those muscles that are going to push you up the hill. You know, those are the muscles that are going to help you get up off the floor so that, you know, if you fall over, you've got the strength to do it and you know where to find it. There's going to be a lot more relevance. And I think that approach also means then that you understand the Pilates repertoire so much better, and then you can really gain benefit from those exercises. then you can do bridge with leg up and know that it is going to help you to do these things. So, you know, they all work hand in hand. It's just how do we communicate that to the client? And once they can take ownership of that and go, oh, I know what to do now. The number of clients that say to me, yes, I still have the back pain, or yes, I still have the hip pain from time to time, but now I'm not so anxious because I know what to do. And for me, that's again that mental benefit, that mental health benefit that Pilates gives, is because instead of going, I've got this pain, I don't know what to do, I'm just going to stop. They kind of go, oh, I've got this pain, but I know what to do. I feel better when I've done that. You're empowering them to make good choices for themselves. And that to me is always the exciting part, is when a client comes to me and says, you know, Tania, I figured out why my hip hurts. It's the way that I'm sitting in the car.
Yeah.
And I go, wow, that's exciting. So tell me more about this. And then we look for strategies about, well, how are you sitting in your car? What could you try? Well, try this and get back to me next week and tell me if that's working. Is it better? Is it worse? Do we need to try something else? There's so much power in that, just from a physical health point of view, but also they get so curious about their own movement in normal everyday life. What could be better than that? That is the
Absolutely.
best job in the world.
Well, I can relate to something that I get so often. I get it right really so often with people with hyperlordosis of the lower back coming in with lumbar pain, and then just teaching them on how to change the position of their pelvis by engaging more into their lower abdominals and then lengthening their tailbone. They feel a little bit more connected, and then they say, oh my God, yeah, the pain's gone. Or, yeah, now I need to know that I have to walk or keep myself connected all the time. You know, I say, well, okay, step by step, right? But that's essentially what we're doing. We're teaching them how to live their life outside of the studio, right?
That's the value of what we bring, right? Because an hour, if you think about it, an hour out of 24 hours, out of 7 days a week, what can you really change in that hour? Realistically,
Yeah,
nothing if they're not on board. Yeah. So if
absolutely.
they're not invested in it, if they're not using that knowledge for the other 23 hours of the day, for the other 6 days of the week, it's never going to change, right? So, yeah. And, you know, I always say to my students, remember that movement is the only thing that affects absolutely every body system, your internal body health, as well as your muscles and your bones and everything else. If we don't move, we get unhealthy, we get stuck.
Yeah.
Movement is the only thing that works the entire system and helps to keep the system healthy. So, from my perspective, we have the most important job in the world because we are
I
preventive
totally
health specialists.
I agree with you there. I totally agree with you. And I've just got a comment here from John. He's saying it's all about teaching the body in front of you, knowing them and making it about them. Yeah, making it about the client. Absolutely, John. Thank you
Absolutely,
for your
John.
comment there. Well,
Tanya, I'm curious to ask, in the context of developing these skill sets,
Yeah.
I'm going to assert that you saw an absolute need to write this book based on seeing it enough times that teaching Pilates does take confidence, and that it was a missing in what you saw was a lot of teachers over many years coming back with feedback or eventually, and no doubt you acknowledge them, to have the courage to come forward and say, I'm lacking confidence with this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Can you perhaps outline for us with a bit of detail the cycle of a new teacher, what they can expect to move through when it comes to the stages or the phases that might progress with their Pilates learning initially,
Mhm.
and then their teaching skill set that has them go from I wasn't confident to now I'm much, much more confident, and perhaps some key things along the way. And probably a part of that as well, Tanya, is that something that needs to be made more important inside of instructor training programs, or is it something that comes with time through maturation post our initial training?
Oh, Bruce, I actually think that the majority of training programs lack teaching methodology quite significantly. The amount of teachers that I've retrained from other schools, and I'm not talking smaller schools like myself and Anita's, I'm talking large schools that are internationally known. And the amount of people that have said to me, oh, well, that was never covered in my training. Oh, so that's how it works when you put a class together. Oh, I never knew that. Thank you so much for clarifying that, because I could never figure out how it worked. I think that showed me the value of having good teaching methodology tools. And, you know, in many cases, people would retrain with me because they lacked the confidence, because they'd seen other teachers that I trained and they're going, I want more of that. And for me, the reason why I stopped teaching the Physical Mind Institute's training in New Zealand, one of the key things for me was that it wasn't working for my teachers. They couldn't teach at the end of the training. They just didn't have enough time, and I didn't have time within the program to foster that. So that was why I then developed my own teacher training program. So I know that these tools work, but it is, again, that practice, and it's about being guided along the way. And I know for myself, having that initial experience working with Leslie Ackland in London, where I was basically trained as an apprentice through that period of time. So it was 2 years of gradual, and I mean, I already had a lot of teaching knowledge through teaching dance, but of course the application is different. So I then could go back and apply my dance teaching knowledge to Pilates and then bolt it differently. But I think I fell into that trap when I did my physical mind training in the States, where I did the course and then I was supposed to go in and teach a class the very next day, the day after I'd finished the mat work. I mean, I'd never done mat work. We didn't do mat work in London. It was all done in the studio. So I had to walk in and do this mat class. And I walked in fully prepared. I had all my exercises. I've got my sheet. I knew what I was doing. I'd spent ages putting it together. And I walked in and I go, ooh, where do I start? I know I'm starting with this exercise, but I had not even thought about the fact that I had to put them into a position, that I had to, you know, just some of the real basic things. And I see this happening to my students when they come in as well. The first time they kind of go, I've got all this preparation, and go, oh, I forgot that I actually had to get them into a position first. So I think there needs to be a lot more emphasis on the teaching. To me, in teacher training programs, there's way too much emphasis on them doing the exercise well. And they get criticized for the way that their bodies move. I've had teachers coming into me after their teacher training program, terrified to move, because they've been forced into positions and kind of go, well, I can't do this because I can't get into that shape. And it hurts me. It's like, so what are we teaching our teachers if we are putting them in compromised positions that don't support their body and forcing them to do it because that's what Pilates requires? I'm pretty sure Joe would be absolutely turning in his grave if he saw that. I don't think he'd be happy with that, because surely our compassion starts with the way that we train our teachers to be compassionate to their needs and to help them understand how they should move to feel good in their body, because otherwise, how are they going to translate that into their clients? So those are some of the trends that I'm seeing, and the conversations I'm having. I've had these conversations across the board globally with people over the last few years while I've been sort of percolating on this stuff, and these themes keep coming through. And it's just, yeah, we need a lot more compassion and kindness.
So the key word that jumps out there for me, Tania, is this translation. And I'm curious historically if there was an assumption perhaps laid down that the simple participation and experiencing of the doing of the Pilates exercises was sufficient information to have it translate into the skill of being able to teach someone else to do it, perhaps. And what I'm hearing from you is that that is perhaps a false assumption, and the emphasis needs to strike I think probably a delicate balance between the critical. I think it's super important that we get a physical experience of what the participation and the connection and the visceral feeling of doing a great Pilates exercise well, so then we can communicate that. But the communication skills is what I'm hearing is obviously a high priority.
Yeah, absolutely. But being better at an exercise, as we all know, it takes years sometimes. It takes, you can't expect somebody in a 1-year program to become proficient at every single Pilates exercise in detail, because it takes time for tissues to change. So how can we force that change on our students within such a short space of time? Rather acknowledge the progress that they're making towards their own self-mastery. So I'm not saying self-mastery isn't important, but I also believe that it's something that has to be earned. So to do an advanced exercise, I wouldn't require a client that comes once a week to do an advanced exercise, because they haven't earned the right to it. They haven't invested the time. They haven't taken enough action to be able to get there. If they're coming 3 times a week and it's their highest priority is to really master that exercise, that's a different story. If that is their goal, then that's what I'm going to help them towards. But the advanced exercises are for people who are committed to the practice of Pilates and who really want to get better at that. But that's not my everyday client. So I think, Bruce, in a way, that's where things have gone a bit awry. Because for us as teachers who've mastered these exercises, doing our traditional approach and our classical approach is achievable and it's satisfying. But for my normal everyday client that might have, multiple health conditions, taking them through a workout like that is irresponsible, in my opinion, because I'm not going to be able to give them the best of what I have to give, but I'm also not going to do what is best for them. And so that is always my approach. What is the most applicable thing for you? And if that exercise is what your aim is and you're only coming once a week, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. So, it's about tempering some of those expectations as well and being really honest. I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to be as Pilates teachers is really honest. It doesn't mean you have to be hurtful, but you do have to say, well, actually, there's a lot more groundwork to do. And this is going to take some time. So
Tania, on that note, sorry, on that note, I'm just going to say that this is really super important what you're saying, because I feel that this is really what's going to make you stand out as an excellent teacher, because many teachers are so afraid to lose clients just because they feel that they need to give the sessions to the client according to what the client wants, or I want to see, they see these photos online or see the videos online. I mean, I've had experience of this a few times with some clients. They say, oh, I want to do I want to do the hanging pull-up in the first session, right? So you need to be realistic, and as you rightly say, you say, oh, hang on a minute, we'll get you there, but we need to get you. This is a process that's going to take building blocks. We're not going to be able to get you there straight away. No. And guys, if you feel you need to lose a client because they can't or they feel they can't communicate with you, or you feel that you can't serve them the way they need to be served, then lose them. That's fine. There's going to be someone else that's going to come through the doors that's going to be more suitable for you. Absolutely right. It was spot on.
Yeah. I also find that, if I have somebody who's done Pilates for a long time, but I've never worked with them, then they expect me to take them to the level where they were. And it's like, well, look, I'm sorry, but I don't know your body. So I can't take you there because I have no experience of how you move. So please give me the opportunity to get to know your body first, and then we can go there. But, even with a new client who's done, I don't care how many years of Pilates, I would never push them on the first session because I don't know how they move. And again, that's my own integrity at risk there, because if I injure them, then they go, oh, well, it's no good, you know.
Yeah.
She doesn't know what she's doing. I walked out with an injury. So, you know, sometimes if we meet people's expectations, that is where they get hurt, right? Because they think they can do something and they really not ready to do it. And unless I can verify that for myself by seeing the way they move, I refuse to. And I have lost clients because of that. But I'm not going to put myself in that position at all. I refuse to completely. So yeah.
What are you actually? I'm interested to hear about your thoughts and maybe even Bruce's thoughts on this. On you know how there's the big Pilates clubs, like there's Club Pilates, one of them. There's a lot of other Pilates clubs I know for sure in the US this happens a lot. I don't know about Australia, I don't know about New Zealand, but there's a lot of these Groupon classes that they sell, and the client can just join. He's laughing, I know. He's laughing. I know clients can just join into a class without having ever been on a reformer.
Yep.
And they're expected to do all sorts of fancy stuff without, you know, just trying to keep this an intelligent conversation here. Because honestly, I look at these classes and I think, oh my God, you know, but what do you think of these classes? I mean, what's your opinion? What's your take? Because bear in mind, think about the teacher in there. Think about that teacher who's maybe just coming up in her career. Maybe she's just only got a couple of years experience, you know? What's your take on that?
Bruce, do you want to lead? Bruce, do you want to lead with this one? No. Well,
I'm very happy to.
Yeah.
Like Anita, the key part of your question comes at the end there, which is think about the teacher in that situation, and I think that's not been thought about, in my opinion, because the reason that those classes exist, in my opinion, is for commercial reasons primarily. It actually is taking, and I think I recommend everyone check out the documentary on the early stages of the development of that McDonald's franchise, where the salesman traveling around selling photocopiers and printers and bloody blah, whatever he was trying to sell, he was the man who saw the opportunity in these two very proud, very capable, very intelligent brothers who started the McDonald's restaurants and had created this wonderful idea that this traveling salesman saw the opportunity and he saw the commercialization potential of what the restaurant was that these guys had created, and he saw that it was unique and it saw it had awesome potential. So my opinion is that it's possible that the franchise model is sweeping across and continues to across the Pilates methodology and completely wrenches the heart and soul out of the quality that Pilates has the potential to. And my simple takeaway these days is that McDonald's will always exist. There's always going to be a market for it. However, you need to be aware of critical things called nutritional advice, which in my opinion, McDonald's offers very little. And I literally use the words to my young children is McDonald's is like eating plastic. So if you want to do plastic Pilates, then you have a choice which restaurant you choose to visit, which food you choose to consume. But in amongst that, have you ever developed an enriching relationship with a McDonald's person serving you the dinner? Absolutely not. Do they have any concern on your nutritional value that they're providing to you? Absolutely not. And the whole thing misses the point, in my opinion.
I think it has a value in making Pilates or making people more aware of Pilates. But one of the first things I learned about the springs is that they like loaded guns. So as long as we are working in a mindful way and with awareness of our alignment and awareness of what we are trying to achieve, we can have a really good outcome and we cannot endanger anybody. But if we just have people jumping on willy-nilly with all of their injuries and complaints, and they then working at just moving and feeling the burn or whatever it is that Pilates has now been turned into, we end up setting them up for some pretty serious injuries. So I think it's a double-edged sword. Yes, it makes Pilates more in the mainstream, but at the same time, we run the risk of Pilates really being known as something that is not beneficial. And then it completely goes against what we're trying to achieve. But to me, it is just a business model. And it's become like going to a gym franchise. It's not about the work. It's not about the intent behind it. It is, I always say this is the sort of paint by numbers approach to teaching Pilates. My hope is that when somebody goes to a class like that and they enjoy it, that they have the presence of mind to go, this is great, but I want to know more, and that they would then go and seek out an opportunity to not do it that way. But I like your analogy with the McDonald's franchise and the lack of nutrition in the plastic Pilates, because Pilates was never meant to be taught that way. And I don't get the trying to make Pilates become a part of every other type of movement out there, turning it into a cardiovascular fitness regime, it was never meant to be that. We're losing the essence of Pilates by trying to make it fit into everything else, so yeah, I do find it quite challenging. I see we've got a couple of questions here. Should I answer those, Anita?
If you want to do it now, we'll just wait, or if you prefer to wait till the end, but if you want to go ahead and do it now. No?
I don't mind. But
So,
did I answer your question? Did I answer your question?
Yes, you answered me. You answered me. I'm going to just move on. So if that's okay, Tania, I'm just gonna I want to talk a little bit about this book. Okay. I want to talk a little bit more about this book. So I'm gonna unpin you. So I'll come along again. And I just wanted to say that those just 2 excerpts of this book gave us so much to think about, gave us so much to talk about. Just imagine how many more questions you're going to have if you do read this book. So please get yourself into that Amazon link, log into that link, buy the book. By mid-May, this book is going to be retailed at $27.99, guys. So this is a really good deal. Okay, so it's a huge bargain you're getting. And what's super important is that you write reviews to help us get that book out there. You know how Amazon works. So you've got to buy it now, and write done. Yeah, you've got to write down, and you've got to make sure that you get this book right to your doors. So on that note, actually, Tania has a little surprise for you here. So Tania, I'm just going to go back over to you.
Well, for everybody that's joined today to be here live, and also for those of you that are watching the recording, I'm not going to discriminate. I have a free gift for you, which is basically a free e-course. So it is my Grow Your Confidence e-course. It is a mindset course. So the very beginning of the book is really a lot about mindset. So about how do you develop long-term confidence? How do you develop the ability to not feel like an imposter, and what to do about it? And so this course is available. The link will go into the chat. And if you use the discount code WELCOME, you get that course completely free of charge. So it's normally $97 to do the course. But with your discount code WELCOME, you get it totally free of charge. Because I'm so passionate about teachers feeling confident when they walk into their class, whether you're a new teacher or a seasoned teacher. Those crippling thoughts can hit us at any point. And I don't want you to feel like that. I want you to really enjoy what you're doing and how you're helping and sharing with people. It is such a wonderful gift that we can bring. And it doesn't help if we doubt ourselves, because at the end of the day, Anita can't teach like me, and I can't teach like Anita. Yeah, we're individual. and the way that we teach will draw the people that need us to us. So there is more than enough room for everybody and every expression of the way that you teach. So please, yes, do enjoy that workshop. And also in the book, you will notice, I'll just hold that up, on the dedication page, there is a little infographic about teaching movement with confidence. So that is my e-course that supports this book, or that the book supports, whichever way around you want to say it. I actually created the e-course before I did the book. And there is a discount code there as well for $100 off that course. So there is plenty of help. You don't necessarily just have to regurgitate the book. There are videos that cover just about everything that's in the book's got a couple of extra things in here, just to sort of make it stand out and be special. But there's just so much help there that I am willing to provide you should you be one of those teachers that really needs my help. Please reach out. That's what I'm here for. That is my little mission in life, is to help teachers be the best they can be. It's what I absolutely love doing. It's what I thrive on. So I'm here. Use me.
Great, Tania, thank you. Tania, can you repeat the name of the e-course?
The one that supports the book?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's Teaching Movement with Confidence.
Teaching Movement with Confidence. Okay, so we will be putting that in the chat as well. So how do they get access to that? Is that through?
It's a similar link to the one that you've got for the Grow Your Confidence. So it is www.teachingmovementwithconfidence.voomly.com. So I can type that in.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. So Tania, thank you very much. And guys, see, you've got the book, you've got the workshop, Grow Your Confidence workshop. Then you've got this Teaching Movement with Confidence course. So much in this launch. You've got to go and get yourself this book. It's so amazing, Tania. Thank you so much. I'm really wanting you to get this book, use the discount code, and just don't forget to type done for us. I'm ready to celebrate. I've got my glass of champagne here, ready for this launch. I'm sorry, guys, it's too early for you to drink the champagne. All right. I've got the questions here ready from the participants, and yeah, John is just saying thank you. And thank you, John, for coming online as well. So we've got a couple of questions from him, I think, even. So I think this one came for you, Tania. So let me find it. Okay, so what about becoming... No, there was another one. Here, Tania, in your opinion, what value do you feel touch brings into teaching Pilates, especially for the clients?
Oh, great question, John. Well, for me, touch is crucial. I'm a kinesthetic learner. I'm also a very kinesthetic teacher. So to my mind, touch is incredibly important. But I was actually talking to a male teacher in a different discipline, is Feldenkrais, and he seldom touches because he's had some very extreme reactions from people that he's touched when he's taught. So I think the most important thing with touch is permission. That's the first thing. We have to ask our clients permission before we touch. So before we give any touch correction, there has to be an understanding that that is okay. More than anything else we do, we need that. And I don't have a card with me, but I have consent cards that I use in my group classes. On one side, it says yes, and on the other side, it says no. And so in any of my group classes, that goes next to the mat or whatever we're doing. And people then have the option of turning the card to the no. I always have the yes up. And if they don't want touch correction on that day, it might not always be the case, but on that day, they just turn the card over. I can see it. They don't have to have the discussion in front of everybody else, because some people don't want to talk. They don't want to admit to the fact that they don't want to be touched today. or they don't want to have that discussion for fear that they're going to be judged. So I just make it really easy for people to opt out of it. So I also use a lot of self-touch, and especially for people who don't want to be touched, which I find they're very few and far between. Self-touch is what I cue. So there are many ways that we can incorporate touch. It doesn't have to be from a teacher to a student or to a client. It can just be the client using self-touch to actually feel what it is. And touch is such an important part. I mean, you just think if you've got a headache, what do? You rub your temples, or, you know, you rub whatever. So we immediately gravitate towards touch. So I don't think that we can remove touch from movement teaching. And if, you know, you are not comfortable giving touch, that's okay, because you can still get the client to self-touch. Especially for people like me, who's a kinesthetic learner, first and foremost, that touch element is really important. So it is a personal opinion. If you're not comfortable doing touch, then don't do it. But I spend a lot of time in my teacher training courses teaching people to touch. So we go through different touch techniques. We practice on each other. I get all of the students to practice touching me so that I can give them firsthand feedback on what the touch sensation is. So, you know, just not training the touch is not an option. We actually have to train people how to touch. I can share a little story with you about touch and how powerful it is. When I was doing my training in California, one of the studios I was working at, there was a woman who was studying somatics at the time. And we were having a chat about touch. And I said to her, look, you know, I use touch a lot, but I really don't know what I'm doing. Where can I find more information? And she said to me, well, Tania, there's not a lot written down. She said, but, you know, I can help you with that. And so we did some reciprocal sessions, and she taught me all about touch. But she did a terrible thing the very, very first day that we started working together. She said to me, Tania, do I have your permission to touch you? And I went, yes, of course. You know, what's the problem? I didn't hear anything for the rest of that session, because I realized that throughout my life as a dancer, with my parents, with grandparents, nobody ever asked permission to touch me. I was so shocked, because some of the touch that I received was painful. And I never said anything. I never thought that I had a voice or a choice. And all of a sudden, this woman gave me a choice, and I was shocked right down to my core. At the end of the session, she did something even worse. She said, Tania, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to touch you and to help guide you. Well, that was it. I burst into tears. So, you know, touch is a very personal thing, and we don't know what our clients have been through. And until you've built up that level of trust, sometimes you don't know how extreme some of those experiences may have been. And touch can be a catalyst for all kinds of other emotional traumas, physical traumas that people have been through. So without gaining people's permission, without giving them that respect and just touching willy-nilly, we're not being very kind to our clients. So touch is, in my mind, one of our most powerful tools, but we have to use it wisely and we have to ask permission. So yeah, it's definitely one of my go-to tools, but it is one that I've really learned to appreciate the privilege of through my work with this woman in California. So yeah, hopefully that answers what I think about touch and Pilates. I think it's crucial, but again, it's personal, both for instructor as well as for the person receiving the touch.
Thank you, Tania. I think that you can write another book on tactile cueing. That's going to be your next book. Honestly, there's a lot to be discussed about that. We've got another question here, actually, that's about teacher training. And I know that, Bruce, you've already given an answer in the chat, but the question is, what about becoming a teacher through online training? And how can you learn properly online or even through a 1-week course to become fully comprehensive? So Bruce, I think you have answered this one, or maybe, yes, you have. So just quickly, I'm going to pass this on to you quickly, Bruce, and just to go over that quickly. So
I'd like to hear Tanya's input on that, though. I've dropped my thoughts in there. I'll just quickly read that through. My thoughts for John's question about online training is that it's better than nothing for sure, but I see the medium having such limitations with the practicalities, the observational skills, participatory, tactile and comprehensive feedback mechanism from experienced facilitators and mentors. There's so much more that you need to see in the room than is possible, I think, online. And the classic is the subtleties of an experienced facilitator being able to work with you when you're in person. It's just quite simply not possible online in my experience. So, and on the flip side, having facilitated a handful of attempts during the initial stages of COVID, John, to deliver instructor training online, as a facilitator, I've found it completely unfulfilling and completely unsatisfying, and also quite literally, I just felt that it was a waste of time because I could only really deliver 50% of what I know that's early instructors need to know, and I just felt like I was shortchanging them, and that 50% was the basic stuff, and the other 50% is the gold, which just wasn't possible online in my experience. So, curious to hear your thoughts, Tanya.
I think doing a course solely online is not a good idea, to be honest. But I think as an adjunct, it's really good. So I think if you can have a hybrid of having the key material online for people to review, so that they can go back to it time and time again, because the problem for me with in-person training is that we don't retain everything. There's too much over a short period of time. So having a way to go back and to fill in those gaps, that's the value of the online world. But it's still two-dimensional. So you're not seeing a body moving three-dimensionally. You can see some of the alignment changes and things like that, but it is very challenging unless you've got everything completely set up in such a way that you can at least see some of that three-dimensionality. But to me, teaching only online, you're not a teacher as such. You're an instructor. So for me, there's a big distinction between who is an instructor and who is a teacher of movement. An instructor is somebody who basically can give you the instructions, tell you what to do. Put your heels in line with your sitting bones, put your arms next to you, lift your hips up, move your knees to the right, move your knees to the left. You're basically just a cheerleader. And you can make some observations and some assistance, but you're never 100% sure whether it was right or not. And yes, you can suggest that people try and feel that for themselves, but a lot of what your value as a teacher is diminished. And I would agree with Bruce with the 50% rule. So, if you're doing a teacher training course, definitely not in a week. Anything that's done in a week, you're not going to get a good teacher out of that. And what's the point anyway? Because we're not contributing to our profession, right? We're already losing too many people out of the profession because they're not confident, they don't have the teaching tools. So why would we then go and shortchange them with a week-long course and all online? We're basically just setting them up for failure. And to my mind, that is unethical to take their money to do that. But yeah, you definitely need that in-person, seeing somebody face to face, being able to work on that body. But if you had the backup of an online component or even components, that would be fantastic. I think that would enhance what we're doing face to face even more. But then you also have to keep it up. Yeah, you have to keep changing.
Tania, then this goes back to the point of tactile cueing. How are you teaching tactile cueing if you're teaching online? It's the same thing, you know, how can the client feel the movement? How can your student feel the movement if you're not there with them? And, you know, you get the aha moment when the teacher is there and they're able to help you translate what they know or to translate what they know to your body. So yeah, you lose that a lot online.
Yeah, actually,
Thank you.
Fleur is on the call today, and we actually did some new photographs for my website a few weeks ago, and I touched her rib cage to adjust her, and all of a sudden everything else switched on, and she got this massive big smile on her face. I don't know if Fleur would come on and say anything about it, but the photographer was like, "Oh, what did you just do?" And Fleur just said, "No, Tania just touched me so that I was reminded of what I had to do in such a way that everything just came on board, you know." So that was a really exciting moment. And I was actually thinking about you, Anita, when it happened, because we'd had all these discussions about touch and just how incredibly powerful the right touch at the right time can be. And as much as we can teach self-touch, it's still not the same. It's something about being together. It's that connectedness that we create by being together, learning that a screen can assist, but it cannot be the teacher. It's such a distancing medium. So as much as I love stuff online, it's not enough. So yeah. So
one of my say that bit about Fleur's comment, Tania.
So she says, "You're completely right, Tania. Your touch took the effort out of the exercise and corrected me." Thank you, Fleur.
Absolutely.
Well done, Fleur. One of my favorite tactile experiences, Tania, was at a Polestar Pilates conference in Germany in 2008. We were fortunate to attend that with my wife. And we did this fantastic workshop that really took advantage of the group dynamic that's possible at an international conference, which was multiculturally, multi-country based experienced Pilates teachers. We were all in the room together, and the facilitator said, "Okay, this is the exercise. You have 30 seconds to tactile your partner through an exercise. You're not allowed to use any words. You just got to tactile them. You've got 30 seconds to take them through a basic exercise, and then they have 30 seconds to give you feedback verbally, what worked and what didn't work." And It was fantastic because there was so many people in the group that we all lined up with our partners, and then the participants were on the floor and they stayed there, but we moved along to the next person for the next 30 seconds and the next 30 seconds. So we moved along, and basically with Japanese teachers, and then Slovakian teachers, and then European, like other European countries, and it was amazing because what a great blend. And Anita's laughing there because being a British descent originally, Anita, understand, and then spending some time in Australia yourself, and then basing yourself now in Spain, and then spending some time in Malta. You can relate to that, I can understand.
No, I see it so much, Bruce. You know, you're totally right. I was actually expecting you to say something about the Japanese, and because I just, you know, I see the difference in the different cultures, how people take to tactile cueing. And us Southern Europeans just love the touch, baby. Just give me the touch, right?
And turn on the Latino music as well.
Yeah.
We love the touch. And then, you know, we've had clients in our studio who come from, Malta is an international island. So many people from different countries come. And I see it so much with clients. Even though we ask permission before we give any tactile cueing, even though we do that and we do get permission, we feel the body. You know, you get to feel the body that's kind of pulling away from you. And then you say, okay. And I know, for example, men giving tactile cues to men, male teachers giving tactile cues to male teachers. I know we've had experiences in our own studio where yeah, some male clients don't like that. They don't like the tactile cue coming from a man. So that's why I said to you, Tanya, this is going to be another book for you. But you know, I know. See, there's another comment here from John. Even as teachers working out, to have another teacher giving you that tactile touch is often needed as a reminder of what the client needs to feel from you as a teacher. So yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, guys. I don't know about you, but listen, I think we're going to have to call this a day.
I think so too. I think we've yacked people's ears off. We could be here for another 3 hours.
I could be here all night. You could be there all day, but it has been absolutely amazing. I don't see any other questions, but it has been an absolute amazing launch. Tanya, fantastic. Well done. Guys, Bruce, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking your time, giving us huge insight of your experiences, and really thank you. I really appreciate your tips there and all the information you've shared with us. Guys, thank you for staying with us. Thank you for being patient. It's been a long launch. Thank you so much. Tanya, I'll pass it over to you and Bruce for your final words. Maybe Bruce, you want to go first?
A simple takeaway from today is I think we got a beautiful insight into Tanya's passion for the Pilates industry and the reason that she's taken the time to outline the wonderful value and the wonderful richness of what it takes to be a quality Pilates teacher. And these are one of the many skills, but the confidence piece is the glue, I think, that brings it all together in many ways. So thank you, Tanya, in taking the time to create such a wonderful resource for the Pilates industry. As I outlined in my foreword, there's no part of that didn't ring true in amongst your willingness and your invaluable contribution to the industry moving forward. So I can't thank you enough.
Oh, thanks, Bruce, and thank you for always being my champion and my number one supporter along the way. It's always been fantastic to have you at my back and sort of giving me the confidence at times when I'm trying some of my wild, crazy ideas. It's been a fantastic journey and many more years together. And I'm so grateful to have Anita, another like-minded Pilates teacher, to call on now and to be part of a support network and a champion for Pilates and for Pilates teachers everywhere. Yeah, we do such important work, and I think it's high time Pilates teachers get the support and the recognition for the contribution that they make to the world. And I'm just feel very humbled and grateful to be a part of that, and will do my best to help anybody if they reach out to achieve what they need to achieve. So thank you, Anita, for this opportunity. Thank you, Bruce, for again giving us your time so early in the morning. And I look forward to many more of these wonderful discussions and meetings across the way, even if it has to be on a 2D format like Zoom. Big kiss.
Big kiss.